With that story, legal expert Ulrich Roux says his law firm will represent the two men who were allegedly assaulted by the VIP Protection Unit members on the N1 in Johannesburg pro bono. He says he wants to ensure that the perpetrators are held accountable. The incident, which has gone viral on social media, has received nationwide condemnation. Roux joins us now to give us further details. He joins us virtually. Thank you, Ulrich, for your time here on eNCA. Just firstly, how did this partnership work out? Did you approach, your client, now clients, to say that you would represent them pro bono?
Hi, good day. Thank you for having me. I was approached by the families of two of the victims. There were four occupants of the Volkswagen Polo motor vehicle. And yes, I was approached by the family and I've agreed to act on their behalf on a pro bono basis. So we won't be charging them any fees for our legal services. The main objective of our representation is to ensure that proper procedures are followed, that the police, or in this instance, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, IPID, conduct a thorough and proper investigation, and that a proper prosecution is instituted against these members of the VIP Protection Unit. We cannot live in a society where their behavior can be condoned. And we will be doing our level best to ensure that a successful prosecution is ensued by the NPA.
All right, so basically this obviously then means that the two that you represent at least have opened charges against these 8 police officers, because earlier this week, first of all, IPID was looking for them, and then when they did find them, unions said they're still deciding on whether or not they'd press charges.
I can confirm that an investigation has been commenced by IPID. Both our clients have deposed to statements furnishing IPID with their version of what transpired on that day. And we are working closely together with IPID in order to ensure that all the relevant evidence is contained in the docket and that the docket is then presented to the NPA in order to institute the prosecution.
So according to your clients, what happened that day? What led to such excessive force?
Well, I cannot divulge the content of their statements. Of course, it's a ensuing and ongoing police investigation. But I can confirm that their version is that they did not act in any manner whatsoever which could justify the behavior of the VIP Protection Unit members. As I've said previously in previous interviews as well, the only justification for that behavior is if they were acting in self-defense. And it is abundantly clear that they were not acting in self-defense. Neither of the occupants of the Volkswagen Polo were either armed or posed a threat or a risk to these police officers. And their behavior is firstly unlawful, but secondly, it cannot be condoned by any leadership whatsoever. It does not matter whether they are part of a VIP Protection Unit. The Deputy President Paul Mashatile's office has confirmed that he was not even present when this incident took place, and members of society have been exposed to this behavior for a lengthy period of time already, and it is time for our leadership to stand up and to take a stance against this. These are innocent members of society who are subjected to absolute bizarre and brutal behavior that doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and it must be stopped at all costs, in my opinion.
And the injuries they sustained, Ulrich?
Well, they've been examined by the required medical officials, and that documentation will be submitted into the IPID docket as well. But serious injuries were sustained by at least 3 of the occupants of the car, and once again completely unnecessary and unlawful behavior which led to those injuries being sustained. Just to enlighten the viewers as well, the Road Traffic Act makes provision for police officers, regardless of their rank or which unit they belong to speed in the case in instances where it's necessary to, and to drive in a certain manner on our national roads when it's necessary. But the emphasis is on necessary. So it is either in order to avoid a disastrous incident from occurring, or to prevent an attack on a person from occurring, or in the event that they are rushing to an emergency and that to a certain extent they have to disregard the traffic rules in order to get to said emergency. In this instance, none of those conditions were present. They were merely members of a VIP protection unit. They were not on their way to any emergency. They were not acting in any way to avoid a possible attack on any person. And their behavior is just, on the face of it, 8 members of the South African police who have completely abused their powers and who have taken the law into their own hands. And as I've said before, it's been well documented that these incidents have been occurring for a long period of time in South Africa, and it must be stopped immediately.
Ulrich, in terms of the person who took the video, do you think you're going to need them at all as a witness?
Well, in instances like this, whenever there is what we refer to as real evidence which is presented in a court, such as a video or security surveillance camera, etc., the normal chain of evidence must be followed. So that video will have to be downloaded from the device on which it was took, and the person who took the video will have to depose to an affidavit confirming the authenticity of the video. But in this instance, we also have, the sworn statements of the 4 victims, which will corroborate, the content of the video, and this will all form part of the evidence which is presented in court.
How far and wide will, your representation of these 2 clients go? For instance, of course, there's the criminal case, against the 8 police officers, but is there going to be some civil claims maybe? And if they are, against who exactly? Just the SAPs, or will you go all the way to the presidency as well?
Well, our initial mandate is purely to assist them in the criminal charges. We act on what we refer to in legal circles in the capacity of a watching brief. So we are there to assist the South African Police Services and the National Prosecuting Authority, and of course to protect our clients' rights. And subsequent to that, you're 100% correct. There could be civil action instituted for damages which have been sustained by the victims of this attack. And in this instance, when there is a case of police brutality, then you would institute a damages claim against both the individuals in their personal capacity, as well as the Minister of Police, as they are employed by the South African Police Services, and ultimately the Minister of Police remains liable for any unlawful action committed by any of its members. Just to add on to what I said previously, in terms of the road traffic regulations, these police members are only afforded this protection if they are acting in the scope of their duties. So an off-duty police officer cannot just disregard the rules of the road. And once again, it must be when they are performing their actual police duty. In this instance, certainly on the face, it seems as if that was not the case when this attack took place.
All right. Thank you very much, Ulrich. It's that debate about police officers acting as though they have immunity compared to the rest of us ordinary citizens, as they would call us, or rather civilians. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Ulrich Roux, a legal expert. His law firm, Roux Attorneys, is going to take over the case of 2 out of the 4 of that VW Polo, those 4 occupants. 2 of them are now his clients pro bono in terms of fighting against what happened with the 8 police officers on the N1 highway. All right.